Hello, friends! Welcome to Morning Tea with CJ. Welcome to Coding Garden with CJ. Morning Tea with CJ. Hello. I actually didn't get much sleep last night. I'm a little, I don't know, not delirious, feeling weird. But this is the show where I browse the web, talk about the latest JavaScript news and tech news and programming news, and then maybe implement something I find in the news. I have a repo where I post all the links from every episode, and there's a playlist on my channel where you can see all of the past episodes as well. If you're watching live, please throw a message in the chat, say hello, let me know what you're drinking, and it looks like I have a new issue. Oh, that's awesome. So, like 2 episodes ago, I tried out ClusterWS, and it didn't work. And I think I spent probably 30. It was at the end of the episode. I was like, okay, let's try this thing out. And it looks like maybe one of the maintainers saw my video and said they fixed a bug. That's cool. If I don't find anything, I might actually try to use ClusterWS again. Yeah, but that's awesome. Cool. Welcome, William. Welcome to the stream. And Cassandra Ray, hello. Can only stay for a bit. Oh, because she's going to Startup Week. Yeah, in Boulder, Colorado, it is Startup Week this week. Cassandra is drinking coffee. All right, we're gonna get started with r/JavaScript. Actually, I think that's really cool that this person actually commented. So if we don't find any new libraries or anything to implement, then I will definitely give ClusterWS a try again. Okay, we're going to start with r/JavaScript, and typically on the show I do browse Reddit. I also have Vue.js news up and going. They had a new issue released on Tuesday, so we'll take a look at that too. Let's look at this. After 5 years and $3 million, here's everything we've learned from building Ghost. So Ghost is a blogging platform built on top of node.js. I had a Ghost blog for a while. You could self-host it. So let's see what they have to say. Last week marked the 5th anniversary since the Ghost Kickstarter campaign, which started it all. Yeah, let's see if we can find it. Ghost Kickstarter. So it's a blogging platform based on Node.js, and they started it as a Kickstarter, which is pretty cool. They got up and going. It's always fun to use these milestones to take a step back and reflect on the journey so far. Just for context, here's a quick overview of where we are today. I don't know what this means, but that's a lot of money. What's MMR? Something to do with finance? Monthly recurring revenue. Cool, that's awesome. So their monthly recurring revenue is $82,000. Annual net revenue, $1.2 million. All-time revenue, $3 million. Whoa. Let's look. I think, like, where are they making their money? I believe they provide paid hosting. Let's see, because you can, like, I'm pretty sure it's open source, and you can host, yeah, I mean, because I hosted it on my own server, and I think this is where they make their money. They actually host blogs for people, and you can pay a monthly fee. Cool. Started working on Ghost because we wanted to build a great open source publishing platform which would help empower independent creators, but we also started this company as a social experiment. We wanted to know what would it look like if you built a technology startup which could not make anyone rich, if you eliminated all the promises of wealth from the roadmap up front and tried to build a good company. That's cool. How would that affect the product, business, customers, and every little decisions in between? We wanted to find out. Cool. So I don't want to read all of this to you, but It's super interesting. So like they were started on Kickstarter. Their product is totally open source, but they actually are making money now 5 years down the road. That's pretty awesome. And you can see all of their company metrics are public. Very cool. Lessons learned in the past 5 years. Centralized wins on simplicity. Open source wins on flexibility. I'm just going to read you the title so you can go back and read this if you want to. Our biggest marketing wins and losses. The best marketing we've done has been to launch over and over again. At least twice a year, we try to make something big and launch it publicly. Cool. Building a distributed team is both easier and harder than you might imagine. Ooh. Our team is spread all over the world. We have no office in any country. After 5 years, I would summarize the overall experience is very positive. Yeah, and you can go to their GitHub, and their product is totally open source. Oh, they're saying open source development is largely more broken than ever. The least fun part of working on Ghost is dealing with GitHub, which is really sad. Everyone has their pet issue. How open source works is if you want something, you can build it. Yeah, I think there's a lot of people that don't necessarily understand, like, if a product is open source, they get somewhat entitled. Like, this is broken, it should work. Well, hey, man, or woman, or whatever you are, like, there are real people working on this thing. If you want it to work, you can submit a pull request. Yeah, so developers regularly show up on GitHub and rage at us for something like not supporting Postgres. And then we say, okay, so are you going to write and maintain Postgres support for Ghost? And they say, of course not. I don't have time for that. Like, yeah, like, open source means community. Like, if you want something, you have to contribute. Don't get mad if it doesn't exist. And yeah. We're always adapting to the market. When we started out, the focus of Ghost as a product was squarely on the publishing experience. Improving the ease of publishing online seemed in 2012 and the several years before like something that could be much better. There are seemingly no good nonprofit funding options for journalism and tech. One big surprise in the last 5 years has been discovering that there are really no good funding options for journalism or tech. We've bootstrapped from day one and always planned to be totally self-sufficient. But initially, we did think that there might be grant funding or support that we might be able to benefit from. It turns out, absolutely none. Cool. Super cool blog post. I'll post a link. If you're new to the show, I post links to every thing that I visit and talk about. And you can check it out on GitHub. WhatsApp web reverse engineered. I'm curious, maybe they like reverse engineered the API. This project intends to provide a complete description and reimplementation of the WhatsApp web API, which will eventually lead to a custom client. That's pretty cool. So a lot of apps have APIs, but they're totally private or like they don't have any published documentation, and maybe their mobile app talks to that API or something like that. So it's totally possible to sniff the network traffic and figure out what endpoints it's making requests to. There have been people that have like reverse engineered the Snapchat API, other various APIs, but you can, for one thing you could do is download the source for the app that you install on a mobile device, decompile it, and then try to take a look at the source code, or you can sniff the network traffic. So that's super interesting. They basically, I'm guessing, sniffed the network traffic and figured out where WhatsApp is making requests to. And now that they know that, they can make a totally custom client that talks to that API. This is my break timer. Let's take a quick stretch. Ooh. If you're watching live, please say hello. Let me know what tea you're drinking, or coffee, or whatever else you're drinking. Okay. Before you can run the application, make sure that you have the following software installed. Cool. Oh yeah, and James just said in the chat, I saw someone figure out the Weed Maps API. I totally did, and like that's something that wasn't a mobile app, but I just did that on their website themselves. So if you haven't seen, this was like one of the second or third live streams that I did, finding and using undocumented APIs. First result, me. So in honor of my 420th subscriber, I went on the Weedmaps website and figured out where they were making API requests to, and then built my own client that like listed out dispensaries in my area. So you can check out that video. But yeah, it's totally possible on the web, and then also for like native apps too. Login and encryption details. So that's one thing you have to do is like reverse engineer in a more complex situation, like reverse engineer how they're actually doing authentication and how do you get valid credentials. Cool. So they reverse engineered the QR code generation and key generation, decrypting messages. I think that's one of the things about WhatsApp is all of the messages are encrypted, and it's end-to-end encryption. So it's encrypted on the device. The servers that your messages are going through never can decrypt them or know what's inside of them. Very cool. I'll link to this. Yeah, and when you are doing something like decompiling an app or something like that, that definitely is violating the terms of service of that application. I want to say that sniffing network traffic can't be, like, how? But yeah, when you're digging and reverse engineering, you could potentially be violating the terms of service. Command line scripting with ClojureScript. Thanks to the recent developments from the ClojureScript community, writing command line scripts in Clojure has been a fun experience for me. So I've never worked with ClojureScript. I have a colleague that got really into it and found a job in it. Be interesting to explore. So Clojure is a functional programming language, and then ClojureScript is, I think, a derivative that transpiles down to JavaScript. Running scripts with Lumo. The easiest way to get started is to install Lumo on your system and run Clojure files with it. Create a file called hello CLJS with the following contents. Run it using Lumo, and it will run your file. Couldn't be easier. Now let's look how you can leverage Node.js APIs to write a slightly more practical program. Wow. One thing about functional programming languages or Lisps or Lisp programming languages, there's a lot of parentheses involved because like everything is based around operating on lists. So the following program parses a JSON payload generated by randomuser.me, extracts a subset of the data, and I guess maybe returns it. So bring in the Clojure library, bring in the FS module, bring in the JSON file as your data. You're defining a function called parseUser. I'm curious if these are like parameters to the function, maybe. And then you're saying what this thing will return. That may not be true. I don't know anything about ClojureScript. And then they're going to write that random user to a file. Integrating with NPM, you can install packages from NPM. Gotcha, hyphen delimited names in the namespace must be converted into snake case in the file system. That's pretty cool. I'm gonna save this and potentially, maybe I'll try it out. Maybe I won't build something complex, but it'd be fun to just play around with ClojureScript at the end of the stream. I think I do want to give ClusterWS another chance, another shot. What I might do is just go into the folder from that episode, update the dependencies, and see if it starts working. But that's pretty sweet. Playing with MIDI in JavaScript. So this is something that I definitely want to do an episode on. Machines supported musicians since the beginning of the computer era. It was back in 1951 when the University of Manchester was able to record God Save the Queen on its Ferranti Mark I. But it was not until 32 years later, in 1983, when the MIDI standard was created. So MIDI is a protocol for... I guess I could try to... I don't know all the details, but here, I'll show you this. This is a tiny little... Whoa. My green screen doesn't like that. But this is a tiny little MIDI controller that I have. You can plug it into your machine, and when you press a key, it sends a MIDI command into the machine. And then various programs can listen for those MIDI commands and then do something, like play a specific note. And so each key sends a different MIDI command to play a different note. But the interesting thing about web MIDI is you can build a website that actually can receive those commands from a MIDI device on your computer. Hey Joe, welcome to the stream. JavaScript since March 2015 has official support for the MIDI standard. It includes access to both input and output MIDI devices. Cool. And if you've ever dealt with like location in the browser, it works in a similar way. So instead of request current location or whatever it might be called, you say request MIDI access. That will probably pop up a little... actually, can we play around with it? If we run this pin, will it request MIDI devices? And it's just logging out the MIDI devices. Let me see if I can plug in my MIDI device real quick. Don't really have any extra ports, but hey, I found it. So I literally just plugged it in via USB, and the web browser can literally see this device. Is it listening for any keys yet? No. That's pretty awesome. I unplugged my mouse, so I'll have to plug it back in. So that's super cool. If you've seen like web pages that have like a keyboard built with JavaScript or something like that, you could interpret MIDI commands and actually play the keyboard on the screen. Connecting with the device. And it's listening for two specific commands. And then logging them out. Generating sound in JavaScript. Let's definitely demo this. Converting MIDI keys. Let's see. So is this... Yeah, this one isn't using MIDI. This is just using the web audio API to generate a sound. And the web audio API actually allows you to... it's a sound generator. So you can set frequencies and oscillation and actually generate sound inside of your browser. Yeah, so this is basically with buttons. I think the examples are getting progressively more complex, and they're going to make it, yeah, so audio API with the MIDI API. So this will, I'm going to make sure I don't have both of them open. This should take in MIDI commands and then play a note based on what MIDI command was there. All right, let's try it out. Nothing's happening. Let's see. Wonder if it plays any MIDI note. I can go down some octaves. Nothing's happening. If we look at the code, it's connecting to the device. And then request MIDI access. Emulate keys. Below is keyboard emulation for C4 to C5. Oh, so I think I actually need to go octave up. I think this is C2, 3, 4. Aw. Oh well, it's not working. But future episode, I'd love to create a super basic JavaScript keyboard and then plug up a MIDI device to get it going. And James Ross in the chat is saying MIDI world map is pretty cool. It's a 40-second video. Let's see it. Oh, so if you ever used a DAW or digital audio workstation, you can actually arrange notes, and then you can play sound based on where those notes are. But it looks like they created a world map. So each note corresponds to an actual note on the keyboard. That's pretty awesome. Cool. I wonder what island that is. That's pretty cool. All right. I'll link to this. Yeah, and so James in the chat is mentioning it looks like Fruity Loops. There's quite a few different like types of digital audio workstations out there. I use one called Ableton. DAW. Which DAW is the best DAW? But Fruity Loops is a pretty popular one too. Cool. Wait, where did it go? Oh, I'm on the wrong. I was on the wrong tab. Abalash, welcome to the stream. Hello. I hope I said your name right. Let's move on to r/webdev. I'm gonna refresh the page. Warning, avoid Upwork. My account was suspended and funds earned revoked without any actual explanation. Is Upwork a total scam? This is a self-post on r/webdev. Let's just take a look. Joined Upwork a few weeks ago to check out for some side freelance projects. Completed my first project. Client was happy, paid me the original amount and a tip. I was then informed I had to complete a video review to verify my identity. During the video chat, I was asked and responded exactly the following. What type of work are you looking to do on Upwork? How do you end project? Have you done any projects? Your profile photo is not 100% matching your face in the video. Really? Well, my photo is from outdoors and I picked a good looking one of me. Okay. Upon review, we have found that you have been permanently restricted from Upwork because the information on your profile is not accurate based on details. Okay, so let's see what the comments have to say. A couple of years ago, my account was suspended without warning, freezing a couple of $1,000s with it. They alleged that I had multiple accounts, despite never giving me any evidence when pushed for it. I had to bombard them with emails and borderline legal threats before they unfroze my account. I personally never used Upwork, but doesn't sound good. Man, as a developer who depends on Upwork to support his family, posts like this make me nervous. It's 2018. Why can't we have a better freelancing site than Upwork or Freelancer? What about TopTal? Yeah, I've actually looked at TopTal before. I think they're hire freelance talent from the top 3%. So to even get listed on this website, you essentially have to go through like a job application process to prove that you know what you're talking about. And by doing that, they can claim that everyone on their site is vetted and you know you're going to be getting good work from good people. So that's a thing. I got hit with their video chat account verification in Vue a couple years ago. The whole process pissed me off to no end. Okay, it seems like people are agreeing with this guy. Just heard from my client. He even left me a good review and also haven't seen any funds returned to his account. He's an honest guy with a good rep, so I believe him. Anyone have any good reliable alternatives to Upwork? The entire gig economy consists of people getting in to make money and a couple unicorns making it, and then everyone else quitting after they realize it's a scam for everyone else. Cool. I won't talk about this for too much longer, but it sucks that that happened. I personally have never used the website, so I don't know, but it is a thing. Read the comments to form an opinion. I built a Chrome extension to pause Netflix while I fall asleep, or when I fall asleep. Let's check it out. In Soviet Russia, Netflix watches you. As a software engineer, I often feel like I don't have a significant role in making this world a different place. I can't stumble upon a cure for cancer, my backend won't cure the world hunger, and my brilliant database design won't stop the coral reef from dying. Today, however, I solved an even bigger problem than all of the above. Falling asleep during Netflix shows. Okay. Netflix watches you. Whoa. So I'm guessing he has it set up for his webcam, and then he like does facial detection to see if his eyes are closed. The only logical move to solve this problem is to use state-of-the-art deep neural nets for facial recognition. I thought of implementing a blockchain component for extra buzzword points, but just couldn't find a use for it. Open to suggestions. The goal is to pause Netflix as soon as I stop watching the show. I also want the video to resume when I wake up. Who wants to exit your blanket cocoon just to press play again? This is what I ended up with. So it's looking at his webcam. It sees that he's watching Peppa Pig. And the juicy tech details. Disclaimer, the code base you will see is a mess. So he's using OpenFace for facial recognition. That's cool. Let's see if we can do a quick demo with that. Whoa, go back. Oh no. This website is hijacking my command click and won't let me open it in a new tab. Face recognition with deep neural networks. Cool. The second part of this proof of concept is the Chrome extension that runs in the Netflix tab and makes sure the video is paused when I stop. The extension will stop the video depending on if anyone's watching. It's curious, so with a Chrome extension you can actually send a message to a specific tab. And I guess with a Chrome extension you have full access to the web page, so he's selecting the specific element that is the pause or the play button. Yeah, and James is saying Netflix socks are awesome. I've never seen this. Let's check it out real quick. Let's take a quick break first. Netflix socks pause your show automatically, so you never miss a moment. Oh. So they embedded some electronics in socks, and then how does it know to pause? Because we all know it will happen. Episode 1 turns into episode 3, which turns into episode 8. Okay, let's see when it decides to send the message. I wonder how it works. Is it detecting like blood flow or something like that? Understand the mechanism. We based our sleep detection system on a popular method called actigraphy. An accelerometer detects when you've stopped moving for a prolonged period of time and triggers a signal to your chat, which pauses Netflix. Okay. So it's like once you've been sleeping for a while, it pauses Netflix. That's pretty sweet. Okay, so he's got facial recognition, he's got a Chrome extension that will pause it, and you can check out the full source code there. That's pretty sweet. Cool. Making a Python script to get desktop notifications on cryptocurrency prices. Should I click it? I want to click this one. Simple web layout with CSS grid. Maybe I'll come back to the other one. Basic layout, header, nav, content, footer. Recently, I had a chance to work with CSS grid layout. To be honest, I was astonished by how easy it is to manipulate the web layout for multi-devices. Without any frameworks, I can determine how the layout should be on desktop, tablet, and mobile in just a few lines of code. So the structure is just a few, I'm guessing, I don't know if nav is block level, but like header would be a block level element, main is block. Yeah. For the container, we just need to determine the number of rows and columns. I really don't want to go into the detail of all the technical terms. It can be found all over the internet. But we do display grid, grid template rows, 1FR, 5FR, 1FR, grid template columns, and grid template areas. Header, 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 nav main aside, footer, footer, footer. This is a super interesting syntax. Because you can almost think of it like, what are the elements on the page, and how should they be laid out in relation to each other. So it's almost like ASCII art with the elements of the page. So like header is going to go all the way across the top. Nav is going to be on the left, main is going to be in the middle, and aside is going to be on the right, and then footer is going to go all the way across the bottom. So it's a super interesting way to define it. And yes, okay. Then we can set the position of all elements under the container. Hello, Magneto. Welcome to the chat. Grid area header. Oh, I see. So maybe this isn't necessarily referencing the elements themselves. It's referencing grid area, and you tell it where it's going to go. Okay. For different layouts, you have a media query that changes it up. Let's check it out. If we open on CodePen, we should be able to resize it. Ooh, that's nice. Cool. Yeah, it's fun. I haven't worked with CSS Grid much, and I really should. I guess I do a lot of Flexbox, but there are times when Grid makes more sense than Flexbox, and Flexbox makes more sense than Grid. Cool. When I think James in the chat was saying, yeah, Netflix socks, which we just clicked on, was a DIY tutorial, so they probably tell you like what parts and pieces you can buy to make those socks interactive. Sai, welcome to the chat. Hello. Okay, how long have I been streaming? About 35 minutes. Cool. Let's click like one or two more links in r/programming, and then one or two in the Vue news, and then I will try to implement something. I might do ClojureScript. One thing I want to do is go back and see if ClusterWS is working now, because the guy was nice enough to, he actually watched my show. I guess he found me on YouTube. I don't know. But one of the maintainers of ClusterWS, which we tried to implement, I think 2 episodes ago, he said they fixed a bug, which was the bug that I was seeing when I tried to implement it. So that's cool. Oh, wait. Let's go to r/programming. Google provides free machine learning course for everyone. Wait, this is from April. This is old news. Let's look at the comments. Is it just me, or are the videos broken? They're all on YouTube. That's cool. I'm curious why they submitted this article, which clearly is over a month old. Cool. William is asking, how did the Trello clone go? It's still going. It's taken me much longer than I thought it would. I do have a playlist with, not that, go there. A playlist with the past 3 episodes. Up to this point, we have pretty basic functionality. What we don't have yet is adding, so all 3 episodes are there. What we don't have yet is adding multiple members to the board so that they can collaborate. And we don't have the ability to reorder cards. We can move cards from one list to another, but we can't reorder them, and we can't reorder lists. So future episodes upcoming. Probably in the next episode, I'm going to spend some time refactoring, pulling out separate components, cleaning up the code a bit because it's gotten pretty messy with what we've done so far. So I had clearly underestimated how long it would take me, but it's been a fun project. Cool. So I'll link directly to the Google machine learning crash course. Check that out. With TensorFlow APIs. That's pretty awesome. A self-study guide for aspiring machine learning practitioners. Machine Learning Crash Course features a series of lessons with video lectures, real-world case studies, and hands-on practice exercises. Ready to start practicing machine learning? That's pretty sweet. And it's totally free. Cool. What else? Don't sudo pip. Also don't sudo npm. Let's see what they have to say. But it's insanely dangerous. Don't believe me. Try it. No. So what this is saying is, like, when you're installing a package from a package manager, that package being downloaded, if it's being installed with sudo, has full access to your machine. Full access. So if you're using sudo and it does some malicious things like try to delete the root of your hard drive, if you installed it using sudo, it could do that. So you can configure pip, you can configure npm to not have to use sudo to install things, and you should. So don't sudo pip install ever, don't sudo npm install ever. Running it is insanely dangerous. It's equivalent to giving a complete stranger root access to your machine. So I made a project. I don't know if I want to tell you about it, but basically, when I was teaching node.js and full stack web development, I wanted my students to understand that how different node.js is, because it's JavaScript running on your computer rather than inside of a browser. So I wrote an npm package that, for one, it rickrolls you, so it opens up Rick Astley's Never Gonna Give You Up. It then puts your volume to full. So if you had your computer muted, it increases your volume all the way. It then adjusts the computer brightness and starts flashing the screen. And then it opens up like 1,000 images that were inside of the package itself. What else does it do? I think that's it. But oh yeah, no, I'll tell you what it does. It takes a picture of you with your webcam and then uploads a GIF to the interwebs. And I made that to show them that Node packages and Node itself has so much more access to your machine than a web browser. Like, a web browser cannot control the volume of your machine or control the brightness of your machine or your webcam without first asking for it. But with Node, you have full access to the machine. So don't sudo install things. It's never good. So with Python, you can use virtual environments. And with npm, I don't believe they have there might be something out there for virtual environments, but I use a package called NVM, or Node Version Manager. And what this does is, instead of installing npm and Node in a privileged area, it just puts it in your home directory and updates your path. So when you need to install packages, it doesn't need root access because it's just storing those files in your home directory. So NVM is pretty sweet if you're using Node. Don't sudo pip. Okay. There's other good stuff on here, but I wanna click a few links on Vue.js news and then try out ClusterWS and make sure it's going. William in the chat, all those faces in the cloud. I kind of want to tell you what the website is where you can see it. I also kind of don't, because a lot of people are going to watch this video. I'm not going to tell you. Maybe one day. Maybe one day we'll build that thing live on the stream and talk about how I did it. New Vue CLI beta release, so Vue CLI 3 beta 10 has come out. bug fixes with build and serve, refactoring the code, breaking changes. The CSS modules option has been removed. Upgrade Webpack 4. All Webpack option modifications must be Webpack 4 compatible. That's a typo. But in the past, the Vue CLI has used Webpack 3. So that's super interesting. I think I'm using Vue CLI 10 beta 9. Oh, okay, 9. So I don't have 10 yet. But I guess what's super interesting about that is you can install the latest version of the CLI, and then you're automatically using Webpack 4, and you didn't have to do anything special to do that. So that's pretty cool. Introducing Vue Contributor Days. If you're interested in contributing to the Vue ecosystem, you might be interested in signing in for the Vue Contributor Day organized by this.media. So I run the Vue.js meetup in Denver. That would actually be awesome to have like a contributor night. Vue Contributor Days is an event created in partnership with the Vue core team to provide an open discussion forum and platform for all developers using the technology and or contributing to open source libraries. The goal of Contributor Days is to not only give important updates to the community, but also a forum to provide a voice for anyone writing Vue to have direct access to the core contributors and authors of various libraries. The first Vue Contributor Days will take place online on June 6th. Awesome. Event is led by Evan Yu, Chris Fritz, Sarah Drasner, and Thorsten Lundberg. Sarah Drasner is actually based in my area. So it'd be super sweet to have like the Denver Vue.js meetup and get together to watch this and talk about Contributor Days. Cool. Other Vue community members, like the co-creators of Nuxt and Vue.js community partners, will be in attendance. During this event, you'll have access to chat with community members, ask core team members questions and comments in real time. Check out contributordays.com. That's awesome. I'm definitely going to check that out. All right. I mentioned it last episode, but I gave a lightning talk at VueConf in New Orleans, and you can actually see it on the Vue Mastery VueConf website. If you go to VueConf and scroll all the way down to the bottom are all of the lightning talks that happened, but I gave one on an overview of Vuetify.js. It was really just what is Vuetify, why should you use it, how do you use it, and all of the talks are like 10 minutes or less. You can check those out too. There was an article, 5 lightning talks from VueConf that you can't miss. Yeah, Rachel Neighbors, she gave a full talk, but she also gave a lightning talk. Code splitting patterns. Sean Thomas Larkin, the creator of Webpack, he didn't give a lightning talk. He gave like a 20-minute talk, but it was a really good talk nonetheless. Quick publishing of distributed single file components in NPM, reactivity, learning by accident, beyond HTML with Vue. Cool. So check that out too. All right. I think I'm ready to try out ClusterWS. Let's do it. I'm going to link to Contributor Days. Cool. So again, this is the main developer of ClusterWS, and he commented. So it seems like it was fixed in version 3.05. So here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go up to where I did that, and we're just gonna update the dependency in the package JSON and see if it fixes things. I think it was actually a client side bug though, so I might have to just update the script tag. I don't think, was this last episode? I think this might have been 2 episodes ago. Yeah, I tried to do a real-time chat. Okay. If I look at my package JSON, 305, and then client 305. So let's make sure that my client, so my client is running version 3.04. So let's make sure that this is 305, and then we'll go into that directory. And in a second, I'll explain what ClusterWS even is, if you weren't there for that episode. So I should be able to go into the public directory. Let's just clear out the node modules directory in there, and then do an npm install. Okay, and let's talk about ClusterWS. So if you're familiar with Socket.io, it's probably one of the most popular real-time frameworks for Node.js, and it uses WebSockets to have real-time communication between the client and the server. So a lot of the demos they have are like a real-time chat client, like you can put in your name, and then you can start saying something like, hello world, and if anybody else is connected, you can see their messages too. And sockets are a persistent connection to the server. So if you're familiar with REST, that is a client sends a request to the server and then gets a response back. Sockets are bidirectional communication, meaning the server can send data to the client without the client even having requested it. So Socket.io is a really common package to do that. ClusterWS allows you to use sockets, but it allows it to scale more. So typically, one thing that's hard is if you're using Socket.io on the back end, you need all of the code to be running in the same place because it's managing all of these different connections. So if you have multiple backend servers, you need something to coordinate the communication that's happening to the backend servers. And ClusterWS allows you to do that. So basically, you can set up a cluster of backend servers that all sync together to allow you to have a real-time backend. I hope that was an okay explanation of what things are. So last time we followed installation and configuration. I think what, how do you say his name? Goryanov? I think what he's saying is if we update the client to 305, it should fix things. So let's try it. I should be able to do an npm start. I don't have an npm start. Do I have an npm run dev? Yeah, and Magneto is saying it's like a hosted pusher alternative. I think so. So pusher is, where are we at? The lead in real-time technologies. So hosted APIs to build real-time apps with less code. So they're like real-time apps as a service, and this is like self-hosted. So you would just install this inside of your backend app, the server dependency in your backend app and the client dependency on your client side. But yeah, and so in this, like, you're subscribing to a backend channel, and then whenever some event happens, you have access to that data. It works exactly the same way, but you're just hosting it on your own server instead of connecting to a pusher server. Okay, do I have a start script? I don't. Let's make a start script. Node index.js. Okay, so our backend is running on port 9999. And if we look at the code, I have a ClusterWS instance set up, and it's running on port 9999. We're serving up, and so this is the other cool thing about it. You can use Express inside of this. So we're serving up our public folder as static files, and anytime a request comes in, it tries to satisfy that using the public directory. And then when the WebSocket gets a connection, we have access to the socket. So this would be like a connected client. And then whenever the server receives the message called message, it will log that data out on the server. And then our client-side code simply just connects to that server and then tries to send the server a message. So we're started up. Let's try to go to localhost 999. We're there. Hello world. And if we check our server logs, got the message on the server. Yay! Okay. One thing I was trying to do last time was just to set up a simple chat app. I think let's do that. So it seems to be working. So let's make it a little more complex. So what's happening right now is when the page loads, we're just sending the message immediately to the server. Let's see on the server side, can we just send the message back? Yeah, so I am doing send message data. So on the client side, I need to listen for when message happens. So socket dot should be socket dot on message. I am just guessing right now. We might go look at the docs to make sure that this is right. Data. Data. So when the server sends back the message, we should actually see it logged to the console on the client side. So let's refresh this. Yeah, so the client sent a message to the server. The server then sent that message right back. Awesome. I wonder, is there a way on the server side to send a message to everyone except for the socket that just sent the incoming message? Let's review their docs real quick before we go too far into coding this thing up. So handle socket. And oh, this is the client. I want to do the server side. Look at the wiki. Handling sockets. Send events to the client. To send message to the client library, use the send method provided by the socket. Do not send events which starts with pound or reserved events such as disconnect, connect, and error. Yeah, so disconnect and error are reserved events. Also, you can identify a socket which is connected to the server and allow or decline connection. Okay, so excuse me, but it doesn't look like there's a way to send a message to everyone except for the current socket. So we might have to handle that manually. Let's see if we log on the server side after a socket connects. Does the socket have an ID? So let's kill our server and restart it. And then when we reconnect on the client, we should see that socket logged. There's a lot of info in there. But the socket cool. I don't see an ID, but let's just make it happen. So basically, when the server receives a message, it's just going to send it right back. So on the client side, let's send a message with like your username. So on the page, we're going to have like a main area where all of the messages are going to go. Let's say like this is ID messages. And then right below that, we'll have a simple little form with where you can put your username. Text is username, and ID will be for username. And then we'll also have where you can put in a message. Cool. So basic little thing, and then let's give it some basic styles. So like let's say the messages section has a background of gray and a height of 500 pixels, and overflow is auto. So once we get lots of messages, it should start to scroll. Okay, so our messages are going to go in here. That's way too gray. Is there like a light gray? It's my break timer. Let's take a quick stretch. Yeah, and so Magneto in the chat is saying, are there channels with ClusterWS? Yeah, so they do have this pub sub feature. So right now I'm just working with raw socket messages incoming and outgoing, but they also have PubSub, and that is channel based. So you can publish a message on a specific channel, and then you can listen for messages on a specific channel. And Magneto's saying, wondering how routing would work when you have mini servers. Yeah, I don't know. I've never really dealt with like a scalable deployment with like real-time communication. Scalable deployments with REST APIs is super simple. They all just talk to the same database or the same like database master, but because there's no state involved, they can just spin up. You can spin up as many as you want, and everything keeps working fine. Okay, super ugly app. That's fine. Actually, let's do this. I have a this styles I created called Easy CSS. It just gives you some basic styles by default. Yay, that looks decent. All right, so here's what I want to do. I want to put my username. I want to say hello world. And then I'll have like a send button. And when I send it, it'll send it to the server and then list the message on the page. So let's add a nice little button. Send. And then we'll add some JavaScript here. So let's make this a type of submit. And we'll say, in our code, we'll grab access to that form and listen for the submit event. So form is document.query selector form. And we'll say form.add event listener submit. We'll get access to the event. And then we'll prevent the default action. That. And then we'll grab the username and the message from the page. So let's say const. Well, actually, we should be able to do this. So on the form, let's give the username a name of username, and the message a name of message. And in our code, we'll use form data. So I'll say form data is new form data with the form, and then we'll make a nice little message object. So well, let's just call it data, and this is going to have a username that's the form data dot get the element that has the name username, and then message is going to be form data dot get the element that has the name message. Cool. So this is our basic little object that we're going to send to the server. And so we're going to do this. And so actually, let's put this code inside of the connect, because we really only want to do that. We only want to do this once we have already connected. And so instead of just randomly send a message, we're going to send our message here. So we're going to send data. Okay, and then when the client receives a message, we are going to append that to the page. So let's create like a message div. We'll just call it div. And that will be document.create element div. And then we'll say div.inner HTML will be, let's say we want like a small with the data.username, and then we'll have like a paragraph tag with the data.message. And so that should be all on one line. And then let's also do this on the server side. Whenever they receive the message, we're going to send it back, but we're going to put the time that the server received the message. So let's say data.created is a new date. And then on the client side, we should have access to that. So let's show, like at the bottom again, another little small with data.created. Cool. And then we'll just add this to the page. So let's get access to the messages element. And in our HTML, that's just the thing that has ID messages. So we'll say document.query selector, the thing with ID messages. And then we'll just append that div to the messages element. So messages element dot append div. Okay, I've written a lot of code without testing it, but let's also do this. Okay, so after you send it, let's say we want to clear out the message box. So let's say let's store this in a variable message element, not to be confused with message elements. Messages element. Message element equals document dot query selector, the element with the ID message. This is some quick and dirty code. Like it'd be super simple to confuse message and messages element, but really all I want to say is message element dot value is nothing. So after you send the message, clear out the form. All right, this is gonna work. So now, if I refresh the page, my username is CJ and my message is hello world. So we send it, we get the message back, and created is undefined. Is that not what I called it? Maybe it can't serialize dates. No idea, but let's log the data that we're getting back. Oh, I gotta restart my server. That's why. And also on the server, let's no longer log the socket. All right, here we go. Username is CJ. Message is hello world. Send. Okay, we got a message. Now, here's the cool part. If I open a new tab and connect to that same server, and I have a new username like Magneto, what's up, and send it, it didn't work. I wonder if I think that's it. Like I'm actually just doing a socket.send. I want to do like an emit. I want to send it to every connected client. How do I do that? Because right now I'm only sending it to the socket that sent the message. Let me read the docs real quick. Magneto said, wait, I didn't say that. Yeah, I said that on your behalf. I apologize. Do not send events which start with verifying a connecting user. You can do that with middleware. Verify a subscribing user. Listen on all publish events. I don't know if you can hear, there's really loud trucks outside. Communicate between workers and machines. I'm really curious though. It seems like only the socket that sent the message is getting the message back. Is it possible to do WebSocket.send? Let's try this. I just made this up, so it might not work at all. What? Yeah, so that's not a thing. emit. Now I'm just inventing things. I think that's how you do it with socket.io. So, I don't know. Whoa. Socket.emit is not a function. You know what? Do I have to do this myself? Do I have to on connect like keep track of connected sockets? Let's try this. If this doesn't work, then I'm gonna give it up for now. But let's say, okay, connected sockets, and this is gonna be an array. And when a socket connects, we're gonna push it into that array. And then after we receive a message, we're gonna send that message to every socket on the system. So we're gonna say connected sockets dot for each connected socket connected socket dot send the data. Maybe this will work. So basically, every time a socket connects, we store it in the array. We probably also want a disconnect so that we can remove it out of the array, so we're not trying to send data to a closed socket. But yeah, that should do it. I'm just gonna do this real quick. Cool. Let's try it. Kill the server. Start it back up. Refresh the page. So this is CJ. And his message is, hello world! And then this is Magneto. And his message is, wait. I didn't say that. Send. Everyone gets the message. All right. Sweet. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to see if I can deploy this really quick. I don't think there's anything special in it. It's just like a super dumb. Yeah, like there's a bug. Let's do this. Like, what if one of them disconnects, and then now when we try to send a message, we might get an error on the server side. Oh, I killed it. Never mind. Yeah, like you need to do a lot more things. Like if it disconnects, try to reconnect. It's not. I'm not doing any of that. So there's a lot more that needs to go into it rather than just like this simple code that I have right now. But this is what I was wondering. Okay, so this just connected, but if I close this tab, it's now disconnected. And what if we try to send a message to a disconnected client? Yeah, cannot read property options of null because one of those clients was disconnected. So we probably need to handle that. However, okay, I'm going to add that simple logic, and then I'm going to deploy this, and anybody in the chat, let's try to do a real-time communication on this little weird chat app that I just built. Handle sockets. We also want to do socket on disconnect. And we're going to remove it from that array. We'll say socket index. Let's say index is going to be connected sockets.index of the socket. And we'll say connected sockets.splice that index and 1. So when they disconnect, take them out of the connected sockets array. Okay, that sounds good to me. Let's do this. Deploy. never done this with now. I'm curious if it's going to install the dependencies in my public folder also. We'll see. Okay, let's do an alias. ClusterWS chat. It's broken. Why isn't it not working? Do I need to use an environment variable? I don't think so. Let's try this deployed URL it gave me. Oh, localhost. I need to update the client to connect to the current server on that port. This actually just should be window.location.host. Name host. Let's see real quick. Yeah, so we want to connect to the WebSocket on that specific URL. Jibs in the chat is asking, how long have you been into web dev, CJ? So web development specifically, probably 4.5, 5-ish years. Before that, I was a desktop developer for a while. Okay. That's great. Here's the other thing that I think is messing us up, though. On the client, we have a separate node modules folder. And I don't think those are being served up. So here's what I want to do. I want to change this to be that. I want to install the client in the server folder. I mean, yeah, so I'll do this. Okay, so now our server has the client dependency. So let's delete our package.json in the client folder and delete our node modules in the client folder. So now our client is super simple. But here's what we want to do. We also want to serve up the node modules directory. Really, we could pull this in from a CDN. Let's just do this. Let's just copy the file. And we'll deploy the copied file. If I were doing this any other day, I'd spend more time and do it right. But I just want to get this working. Cool. And so now this file will just bring in ClusterWS client. Cool. All right. Let's give it a try. Jib says, no wonder why you're this good. Yeah, and so I mean, I coded basic HTML websites when I was like 13 years old. I had like a Calvin and Hobbes fan site, and I hacked MySpace when I was 16. I basically made like a phishing page for it. I really didn't know what the hell I was doing, but I was always like interested in hacking on stuff. And then, yeah, like the past few years, I've really honed my skills and learned a lot about it. Okay, let's see if this works. Aw. That's sad. I want to chat with you all, with all you guys. Yeah, that was my plan, William. I wanted to like give you the deployed URL so you could chat with me, but seems to be having issues. So that's there. I could look at my server logs. Is there a command for that? Now logs deployment URL. So now logs that guy. It's listening on port 9999. I wonder if I have to do an environment variable. Yeah, so like, what is this thing? I think this thing, like, when I look at the source of the web page, it's literally nothing. So this is making a request for / and getting back nothing. If I look at my config, I have an express server set up to serve the contents of the public folder. So that should be serving up index.html, but it doesn't. Let's try one more time. I changed the port environment variable. Let's see. I think, you know what? I think it has to listen on port 3000 maybe with now. I thought it was supposed to be able, it would be able to find any port. We'll see here, because if it deploys with 9999, then there wasn't a port environment variable. Yeah, so it's still just using 9999. Oh. Is there a way to tell the logs? Now logs. Yeah, that's sad. It's just getting back nothing. Wait, do I have Express in my package.json? I do. Okay. I'll push the code up. If you all want to maybe try to deploy this somewhere, you can give it a try. But we have a basic message app working. Yeah, that's pretty cool. I was just thinking, there's something I could do that would give my computer a public address on the internet. I don't know if I want to do that, though. It could open myself up to getting hacked. I'm really curious, like, why, like, nothing at all is showing. Port. Let's just look at their docs real quick to see if they have anything on deploying. Installation and configuration. Yeah, and so Jibs is saying Heroku sets the port. Yeah, so I don't like Heroku. It'll be like some random port, but now.sh, it's running in a Docker container, I believe. So it can be whatever port it wants, and then it knows what port you're listening on, and it like punches a hole to make it forward to port 80 or 443 because it's HTTPS. Oh, I need to add SSL. Okay. But then I need a... I don't know how to give it my certificate if I'm using Let's Encrypt. I think this might be the main issue, is because now deploys to HTTPS. I need to enable secure sockets. When you enable TLS options, don't forget to change the URL to WebSocket socket. Let's just try that. WebSocket socket. But that shouldn't be an issue because it's not even serving up my public folder, which means that the server itself isn't connecting. What if I just throw TLS options in there? Because I don't know what my I don't know if I have access to my certificates on the server because now creates them automatically. Like that. What if I just add it? Will it just work? I don't know. One more try. Cassandra Ray still going. Yes. So I figured out ClusterWS. I actually got it working, but I want to deploy it so I can put it in the chat and people can send messages. James, did you try turning it off and on again? Interesting thing about now is that every time you deploy, you get a brand new URL. So you'll notice like every time I've deployed here, I get a totally different URL. Let's do this. Network tab. Go there. It's listening. Oh, I want this to work so bad. Okay. Last thing I'll try. I'm gonna search the now docs to see if there's a way to find my key and certificate so that I can specify that. So maybe somewhere inside of where I'm deployed on now, I can actually link to it. Upload a certificate issued by a third-party certificate authority. We automatically issued a certificate for. So technically the API input was already there, but until recently it only supported issuing new certificates. By now it supports renewal, removal, and replacement. Creating aliases. Is that where it just was? Oh well, I'm gonna hide my screen real quick because this might show a lot of stuff. Just a second. Whoa. Yeah, but these are okay. Yeah. Sadly, I cannot figure it out. I think this is the main thing though, because we're deploying to a server that has HTTPS, we need to tell ClusterWS to use HTTPS, and I don't know how, because a now deployment automatically gives you an SSL certificate, and I think especially if we're like, let's look at what the SSL certificate is here. Star.now.sh. So I don't think I'd even be able to access the certificate because it's a wildcard certificate that now themselves own. Let's just search for SSL. SSL state. Grab SSL from the socket. don't know. Okay. I couldn't get it. I tried. It was at least working. You could pull down the code and try this yourself locally. And pretty sure if I just like start this up real quick. It's listening. I can go to localhost 9999 or not. Oh, I broke it. Oh, because wait, what? Get rid of TLS options. Okay, we got rid of the TLS options and now it's working. So we can do this. We can say username is CJ, message is hello world, and then any connected client doesn't see the message. Why not? Oh, I'm not preventing the default action on the form. That should... It works, though. I'm telling you, it works. Magneto says, it's okay, we take your word for it. Also, that doesn't need to be secure. And then... I guess we are preventing the default action. Okay, for real this time. It works, I promise. Hey. And then Magneto. It's okay. We take your word for it. Cool. Let's make this even cooler. Let's open like 4 of them. There you go. Yeah, I noticed like there's no message persistence, so like when a new client connects, it's not seeing all of the previous messages too. So this will be James. What's up? I'm emulating as if I was actually able to send it to you all. So like everyone has it open, gets the message. What's up? CJ says, yo. Everyone gets the message, yo. Cool. All right. I'll save this. I'll push it up. I really I think it's awesome that the main developer for ClusterWS reached out. And yeah, Magneto saying no message persistence means total privacy. Exactly, yeah. The messages aren't saved anywhere. They instantly disappear. Nobody can say that you actually said that thing. Cool. But we give it, it works. I think there's just more configuration involved if we actually want to deploy it somewhere to a secure server. So we'll have to figure that out. In the future, I do want to do some more real-time stuff with like chat and things like that, because it'd be super fun to have everyone watching live to kind of like participate and send messages and mess with my screen and stuff like that. Okay. I think I added all of the links for today. I did. Cool. So, there will be no live stream tonight. Typically, I do live stream on Thursday evenings, but I do have a prior commitment, so I'm going to be at that. But for sure, on Sunday, I'm going to have special guest Brooks from the Brooks Builds YouTube channel. We're going to be building a breakout or like a brick breaker game with P5.js. That's going to be super fun. And then either Friday or Saturday, tomorrow or Saturday, I'm going to do an introduction to React and Redux. I don't know which one. Just come to my channel. You can see upcoming live streams. It'll be there pretty soon, so you can know when to tune in. And then also, if you check out coding.garden, you can see my full live streaming schedule. I stream 5 days a week. Oh, yeah, I totally forgot. Okay, so I'm not streaming this afternoon because I have a prior engagement. And then Monday is my birthday, so I'm not going to be streaming Monday either. But everything else still happening. Watch the channel to see upcoming streams. You can click set a reminder on those. And I believe that is it. If you do want to see the links that I clicked today, you can go to github.com/codinggarden/morning-t. Click the links in there to check out the news that I talked about. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Thanks Magneto and Cassandra and James and Jibbs and William and some more in there. I think Sai. Thanks, Abalash. Everyone, you are awesome. Have a wonderful morning, afternoon, or night, wherever you are in the world. And I will see you next time. Here's this.